If you want to know how to deal with pressure, come on. You go to a white Sunday when you're 7 with all that expectation, with all that pressure that is put on your shoulders, whether it's presentation, whether you're emceeing, anything, it all starts with the preparation. I'm just naturally an excitable person. How many times over the years people will ask me, are you on drugs, or do you take some form of substance or drink? And I go, oh, no, this is just how I am. Say, for example, body posture is always very important. As soon as you start, if you are unprepared, people will just pick it up in an instant. Active listening, the ability to be able to really focus on the person. So in terms of networking, go in with that mindset, oh, wow, this person.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Zeducation Podcast. Before we dive in, I have a quick favor to ask you. If you enjoy the show and get value from it, help us grow by sharing it. Send it to a friend, post it on social media, and don't forget to follow or subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. The bigger this community gets, the more powerful conversations we can bring you, all to help you unlock new levels of success in your personal and professional life. Thanks for being here, and now let's get into the episode. Welcome to the Zeducation Podcast, your go-to podcast for career and leadership development. On today's episode, we're going to focus on the art of communication. And who better than to have the man himself, Brian Sagala, who's got years of experience in emceeing, public speaking, performance artist, and also broadcasting as well. He's also the founder of Brian Sagala Event Specialist as well, so definitely go check him out and check out his services as well. But we've invited him onto the show because he's going to talk about communication. You know, this is a skill that we all need, especially in your career and especially as a leader. So we're going to pick his brain, listen to some of the stories and examples, and hopefully you leave this episode with some practical advice that you can go away and apply immediately. So, brother, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Malo apito, whiwhiake sai pe?
Yeah,
Sai pe malo.
I love it. Yeah, we were just having a good conversation before this.
Yeah.
In fact, we were talking about, you've probably seen it, but his post on social media that's going viral at the moment on TikTok, where he's emceeing for a wedding. You definitely go check that out. Because, oh my goodness, they got me fired up for today's conversation. I was like, oh my goodness, how do you do that, man? Especially with a lot of confidence. So, again, thank you for jumping onto the show. Before we get into the whole academic side of things, take us through a little drive-through on your career and how you ended up being in broadcasting, especially with 531 PI, and now going off and doing your thing in this space.
Nice. Thank you for the question. So I finished at Pacific Media Network, 531 PI in August last year, but that was actually my third stint in radio. So about 20-something years ago, I was part of Reo Tumotu, 1593 AM, and very similar in terms of the vision in that to Pacific Media Network, which is serving the Pasifika diaspora. So was part of a show along with brothers Brian Marsh, Albert Wipani, and Francis Stowers. So there was 4 of us, but our show was called The Three Amigos. So you figure that out. So that was that. And then a number of years later, was blessed to host the Crazy Kokonati show, which was an Saturday afternoon show on Radio Samoa. Did that for a number of years, and I always make a joke. I was working there until my cousin Ane fired me. But that's I don't want to go into detail about stuff like that. But if you're not turning up to work, that's a really good point there. You got to turn up to work. So that's the connection there. Yes, my cousin let me go, but hey, if you're not turning up to work, then that's what happens. And then finally, 2015, so I was working for Yui Insurance Company at the time in about 2014. So I was a sales advisor, got into claims and that, and then I was shoulder tapped by the lovely Ulele Mamai Te Eva Matawhai, who at the time was the program director for Pacific Media Network. Now the host on the breakfast show, Matt Ineleo, he was finishing up, he had resigned, and so they were looking for someone to take his place. And so even though I had a little bit of experience, it had been a number of years since I was last on the mic. And so when Te Eva, when Ulele asked me to come in to do the role on Pacific Breakfast breakfast for 5:31, I was like, oh my gosh, I was sort of humming and hawing. But after prayer and that, I thought, man, no, I'll take that leap of faith, and then praise the Lord, over 9 years and how many thousands of interviews later, left with a real blessing, being able to highlight and amplify the voices of Pasifika diaspora around the world. And so there was a great chapter in my life. My wife and I, we had plans to head overseas, but that fell through. And so around November, December, when I was starting to look at opportunities and starting to see, okay, what's out there in the market, pardon me, my wife said to me, hey, you've been doing this MC facilitation stuff on the side as a side hustle, ad hoc over the years. This is you. This is who you are. And I went, yeah, why not? So since January 2025, I have been full time, if you will, in terms of MC, offering MC facilitation, hosting, training, etc. Services. Created a website back in January, February, and it's been pretty good so far. I'm enjoying being my own boss. I'm enjoying being my own boss. Of course, there's the ups and downs, but all in all, it's really good, and really happy to serve and to help people in terms of leading events and that. So
That's awesome. You do have what I call a gift. This gift, communication, or to be able to influence people through speaking with your energy and charisma, whatever you call it, and to be able to use it to give back to the community. You've done it for many years in broadcasting, but now actually doing something that's your business as well. And you did say that's nice to be your own boss, but you still got a boss at home.
Yes.
Yes. But isn't that cool that your wife was like, hey, if there's anyone that knows you better than anyone else, it's definitely your wife.
And that's so true also, because she'd been encouraging me to step out on my own for a number of years. And, for us as husbands, 10 times out of 10, our wives, they always see it well before us. And for whatever reason, pride, stubbornness, laziness, we don't sort of catch up with what they see until such time. So maybe, I'm a little bit late to the game, if you will. But now that I'm here, I want to make the most of it. And I'm just so blessed to have someone who constantly cheerleading. Somebody that builds you up and says, come on, man, go out, do it. So, it's good to have that encouragement.
Yeah, just as I'm sitting here, just the way that you speak and hold yourself and the confidence that you have, the energy that you have, where did this all come from? I know you've laid out your journey in your career. How much of your upbringing, how much did you do any other training, education, any formal training around that? Like, you're just a really good communicator.
Thank you so much for that also. First and foremost, I have to give praise, glory and honour to Father God, Lord Jesus, because I honestly believe that this talent, this ability, this gifting, whatever you call it, is something that I've been blessed with. And it is true, I haven't had any formal training, but in the cauldron of White Sunday, in the cauldron of Lotu Tamati, growing up in Porirua in the 70s, if you want to know how to deal with pressure, come on. You go to a White Sunday when you're 7 with all that expectation, with all that pressure that is put on your shoulders, not to mention that when you are up there sharing your Bible scripture, the look from nobody else other than your parents, that will teach you a lot. So while not really any formal training, having that upbringing in church, for many of us, that's where it all started also. Whether it be White Sunday or doing plays or just being given the ability to stand up and to be able to share in that through the ups and the downs, through the fails and successes. To me, I believe that's a really good grounding, a real foundational, real foundation in terms of helping one to build up their ability and confidence. It's not so much that I have confidence, but I think as I get older, it's just being comfortable in my own skin. I think that plays a big part as well also. When you're comfortable, it comes across as confidence to others, but it's more that I'm just comfortable in my own skin and not too worried about what the naysayers say. I read in, I think, Matthew Ridge's biography a number of years ago, former Warriors, All Black, Blues, well, Auckland player, and he said, it's not that I don't care, I'm paraphrasing here, it's not that I don't care what people think about me, it's that I don't let what people think about me stop me from what I want to do. And especially in this day and age of social media, sadly, I feel so many people, when you base your identity on the number of likes, when you base your identity on reactions or lack of reactions, or, oh man, this post, and then all of a sudden it doesn't get the likes or the reactions that you want, and it's like, oh, wow. And it's sad. That's not where you should place your identity. Shouldn't be based on what other people think of you. You know what I mean? It's like just being comfortable again in your own skin, but also you've got your family. You know, you don't have to go out into the interweb space, and that all that you need is just in your own little village.
So take us there also. I like what you mentioned, because you are right. We're human. Sometimes we are going to feel inadequate. We're going to lack confidence. So that's basically what you're saying. And it's, in spite of that, you still do it. So take us to that. Like give us some advice around how do we become comfortable in our own skin. If we're talking to our audience out there, and you're saying that communication, you know, part of it is confidence, but part of confidence is being comfortable with who you are.
Nice.
How do you build that?
This is what I say. I've mentored a few people in terms of emceeing. People have reached out to me and they say, okay, what are some tips that you can give me? And what I always say, first and foremost also, it's taking the attention off yourself, how you feel, how you may be perceived in front of an audience or talking to others, and investing and serving the audience, serving whoever else. And when you can do that, it actually takes, well, for me, I find that it takes a lot of nerves away, because now when I'm in front of an audience, with every event that I do, I take the attention off myself. How are people going to perceive me? Oh my gosh, what if a joke doesn't land the way that I wanted, etc., etc., etc. If your motive is service, tautua, which is prevalent throughout all our Pasifika communities, I reckon that'll always put you in good stead. You may not be able to articulate in terms of your ideas, whatever, in terms of tone, modulation, etc., etc. But it's like that saying that goes, you know, people may not remember what you say, but they will remember how you made them feel. So again, if you're going in with the intention to serve, okay, this is what I've got, but whatever I got, I'm going to give it, and I'm going to serve you with what I've got. I honestly believe that'll put you in really good stead.
I love that. Great advice. How about when someone's preparing to give a presentation or speech at work in front of maybe 100 plus people? You know, what's your advice around preparing a good presentation or a good speech? Like, where should someone start?
Nice. Preparation, I can never say enough about preparation. It's like the sporting adage, train hard, play easy. Everything starts with prep, regardless of whatever type of, whether it's presentation, whether you're emceeing, anything, it all starts with the preparation. It's like the waterline, the iceberg. You got that much, but underneath, how much bigger is the iceberg? Because that's where everything happens. Again, the analogy I always like to share, a duck, a swan, a goose above the waterline is very serene. But when you go under that waterline, and that's where it all happens. It's all about preparation. The more prep you put into something, that will give you the confidence. Nerves will always be there. Even after 30 years, I still get nervous as. But preparation will give you some form of confidence that, okay, I've done the work now. So, man, after you've done all the prep, it's just a matter of taking that leap of faith. But then in terms of the presentation, we're going back to the example of a presentation. Okay, then, what have you been tasked with to present? So you're going to discuss whether it's for the boss. Okay, I want you to give a presentation in front of employees. Okay, then what is it you want me to talk about? What are some of the things that you want me to touch on? So find out firstly, where do you start? What is the purpose? What is the vision? And then from there, you start doing your preparation around the parameters that you've been given within which to give the presentation.
So that's like time.
Exactly.
And all that, yeah.
Exactly. And then it's just a matter of people are different. Some people may have bullet points. Okay, as long as I got my bullet points and it's there on a card or something, then I can speak to that. Others, they like to literally script their whole thing. It's up to you. But me, my preference, I always like bullet points, which can just jog the memory. You might be talking on a point and then all of a sudden you get a bit blank. You just look down, okay, that's my next bullet point in there. And so those things, preparation is vital. Preparation is key. And then on the day, it's about, even before the presentation, again, like I said, okay, think about giving of yourself versus, okay, how am I going to be perceived? And then when you go to deliver it, however you center oneself, whether it's a little prayer, whether it's just affirmation, whether it's you've got a favorite Bible scripture, whether it's got you've got some sort of mantra that you like to repeat, I've got this to help you. And then after all that's said and done, also, well, again, you just got to go, regardless of how you're feeling. You got to do it. You just got to do it, because even after all the prep and that, and it's just like me, how many times that I'm on the precipice, if you will, of a cliff, and I'm about to fly for the first time. It's like after you've watched mum and dad flying how many times, and after all the feathers have been shed and now you're ready and you have the full capability, ultimately you still got to take that step yourself. So when it comes to that time, you just do it. You don't think, you just go out and you do it. You have to, because it's too late now. And however you get to that point, to be able to go. But again, I always come back to, okay, then this is what I've been gifted with. I want to serve you guys. I want to serve you with it. But having those parts in place, again, I feel lay a strong foundation on which you can confidently deliver, and which you can confidently communicate whatever message that you want to deliver.
I really like that. And I love that example of the swan.
Yeah.
Everyone sees the top, the serene.
Yes.
But really all the hard work, people don't see that.
Come on.
It's all that preparation. Hey, I love that. Tell us about energy, like charisma. Like there's, I can practice my lines, I can practice what I'm going to say, how I'm going to present it. But how do you prepare to have energy and the right charisma on the day? Is that something that happens on the day, or is that something that you can do beforehand? Tell us about that.
It's like the saying, vision is caught, not taught. Okay. And what I mean by this, it's just the way I've been created. It's in my DNA. I'm just naturally an excitable person. How many times over the years people will ask me, are you on drugs, or do you take some form of substance or drink? And I go, oh, no, this is just how I am, So what I would say, charisma, don't try and force it. Again, it comes back to being confident in who you are, how you've been created to be, and being confident in that. Yes, you may not necessarily have the energy of an Energizer Bunny, but again, when you're coming and you're focusing on delivering and serving the audience in that, just be confident in yourself. Because the thing is, if you are trying to be someone that you're not, people may be watching you and everything you're saying is, oh, wow, this is awesome. But there's always that sort of like an inkling in somebody watching is like, I don't know, just something that seems a bit off. And it might be, okay, you've seen how many Tim Robbins podcasts, and then you go, oh, you want to imitate, you want to mimic and think, oh, that's all well and good. But if it's not you naturally, you know what I mean? It's like, be confident in who you've been created to be. because the message and the intention, the spirit, the wairua in which you're delivering it will always captivate an audience. You may not be doing a big song and dance, yeah, like me. I mean, you can see me in an event, I'm running all over the place, but that's just me. Not everybody is that way inclined, or that's their natural character. But be confident in who you've been created to be. And if you want to try, I mean, there's nothing wrong with trying different things and experimenting. And maybe that's what it is. If you don't have that experience, try different things. There's nothing wrong with, taking a little bit from this person, a little bit from this person. And maybe that's the way that you find your voice. But that comes with time, that comes with experience, and that comes with successes, and it comes with pitfalls, and it comes through the walking through the valley of the shadow of death. But the thing with walking through the valley of the shadow of death, you don't stop. You're still walking through the valley of the shadow of death. And don't forget, it's a shadow. It's a shadow, okay? So you just keep on walking, one foot in front of the other. But time, experience plays a really big part. I feel where I'm at now in my emceeing, facilitation, and that it's not. I'll never know everything there is to know about emceeing and stuff like that. And if you ever hear someone say that in any field or industry, that they are the ultimate encyclopedia of knowledge around run away from that person as fast as you can. Always be teachable. Always be on that journey of learning and applying, and always be on that journey of self-reflection. What I like to do after all events is, okay, what can I do? Okay, yeah, make a note here. Okay, maybe I can try this. You're always on that journey. The journey never ends. But if you feel that you've arrived, it's like, man, you better go look at yourself in the mirror and say, no, you haven't arrived. You'll never arrive.
Can you tell us how you do that? Also, so you don't lose the gift, you don't lose the skill, right? You got to keep sharpening the saw. You've got to keep learning, like you said. What do you do in your day-to-day, or if it's day-to-day or regularly, to make sure that you're mastering this gift, this art of communication?
Nice. Well, again, I go back, I am a man of deep faith, and so every day I'm praying, I'm reading through my word and stuff like that. I love the word, Hebrews chapter 4, verse 12, for the word of God is quick and powerful and sharper than any two-edged sword, piercing even to the dividing asunder of soul and spirit and joints and marrow, and is a discerner of the thoughts and intents of the heart, sort of thing. So that's the way that I build myself up. You can watch messages. There is a plethora of knowledge out there in terms of speaking. We're talking about communication. You can literally go online right now and you can look up anything with regards to communication. So again, it's all part of the learning. Building up your knowledge base, writing notes, or however you disseminate knowledge that you learn, creating a database and things like that. And so over the years, it used to be the pad and pen, but now I've got my Google Docs and got my hard drive and stuff like that. So whenever I see something, man, I really like that, I just note it down and I just store it away until such time as maybe I can use this and that. But then also to take from your life experiences. There's so much beauty in everyone's individual stories. So when I'm presenting in public, when I'm facilitating, I always bring myself in terms of, what are some of the stories? A speaker may get up and talk about something, and then all of a sudden, bang, it triggers a memory in me, like, da-da-da. And then that way you can make it personable, you can tailor it to your own life experience within the context of a gig or presentation or within communication, but it still adds to, it's not taking away and it's not overpowering, but it adds to the message that you're communicating.
Yeah. I love that. I love that you touched on the point of storytelling.
Yeah.
I heard this from a guy named Stanley Henry, who's the founder of The Attention Seeker.
Okay.
Digital marketing, content creation, work with big companies like One New Zealand, who used to be Vodafone, Pizza Hut, so those are the clients. But he said, whether someone's a videographer who works for me, or photographer, or social media manager, whatever they're doing in my business, I always get them to practice how to write stories.
Nice.
Because if they can write stories, they can articulate stories, because no matter what they're doing, it's storytelling.
Yeah.
It's whether it's through video or photos or online post or writing articles, it's all storytelling. So it's quite interesting that you say, think about stories, your experiences, and maybe journal them, keep them. Like those experiences or stories that you can tell down the line.
Awesome.
Like how many of us store
Yeah.
these stories, right? Do you feel like that's part of it as well for you? It's just storytelling?
Of course. And it's funny you should touch on journaling. I've been journaling for about nearly 20 years.
Wow.
So I've just run out, I'm on the last page of my current journal. So from here, I'm going to stationary warehouse to pick up my next diary. But journaling, self-reflection, it's so good because what you can do also, you can go to different times in your life and find out where you were at that time. And then through that, in the self-reflection, the journeying, it actually helps in the maturation process, the maturing. And then where I am now is, of course, different to where I was at that time in my life. The journeying, the different seasons through that. Now, what was the second part of your question with regards to that? Or you were asking something else just now. Please forgive me.
Oh, no, you're right. It was just more around like how important is storytelling when it comes to like communicating?
Yes. And this is within the context, we both are Pacifica. We are part of communities, we're part of families, and we come from a rich history of peoples who have, before the white man came, the way that we solely communicated was through the passing on of stories. If we look at, for example, ngafa, I'm not too sure what the Tongan term is for ngafa or family tree. For generations and generations, that's how it's been passed down, where grandparents or parents, they share the stories of our peoples, which we then carry within ourselves. We add our chapter and then we pass that on to the next generation. So as Tangata Ole Moana, as Pacifica, it's inherent, it's in our DNA in terms of storytelling. We're born performers, or like storytellers, great orators from across the Pacific. How many times you've been in a function also when a matua starts talking, now I'm starting to think about it now and I just think like, my gosh, bro, this is just amazing. And that brings one thing to mind for myself, for our young people. Make time with our matua before they pass. There's so much gold in the stories of our parents. I'll give you an example, bro. So my dad passed away in 2009, in November 2009. Now, a week before he was discharged from the hospital to come home for his final days, I went and visited him at Auckland Hospital. And I spent maybe about 2-3 hours, it was just me and Dad. And Dad was just telling story after story after story about his upbringing in Vaiee and Sāwhaka. He was sharing about his coming to New Zealand, his experiences with racism and all this sort of stuff, how he met Mum and all this. But the whole time that he was talking also, when my dad passed, I was 40. He'd never told us any of these things, ever. And so while I was so enjoying hearing all this, the sadness for me was like, Dad, you didn't feel that this was important enough to pass on to me? And the other sad thing was I didn't have anything to record it all that, So for our kids and our grandchildren and that, make time. Because it's not as big a regret, but one thing that my dad, when he was alive, he always asked me and my brothers, I want to take you back to Samoa, to take you through the village and show you where I grew up. And we never thought it was, I can only speak for myself, but I never made time because to me it wasn't that important until the first time I went back to Samoa and I went back to my dad's village and all I did was, bro, I was on my knees and like, only then did I fully understand just the weight of what I missed out on with my dad being there. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's great advice for our audience. One way that you can get better at communicating is start journaling.
Yeah.
Keep a record of all those stories, of all those experiences. There shouldn't be any excuse right now. We've got literally phones that can record video and audio and take photos.
Oh, and just before I forget also, if you are preparing for a performance or that, so the video you talked about, that went viral, that because I go through the comments and man, some of these kids, they make me laugh as bro. And one guy was going, also one person wrote a comment. You can tell he's been practicing multiple times, and my comment underneath was 100% true. So that's another good tip as well. When you've prepared and you're confident with your final draft of your presentation or whatever it is, bro, go in front of a mirror, go in front of your kids, just like, okay guys, I want to practice. Because it's okay, because it's in front of your kids, it's in front of your wife, and then it's like, come on, man. You know, sad to confess, bro, how many times over the years people have complimented me, oh, man, you're so funny, you're so funny. You go talk to my kids.
Different story.
Bro, I crack up jokes all the time at home. My kids, it's just like, oh, yeah, oh, what was that, Dad? Did you say something? And I was like, so I need to go outside of this house to get attention.
Yeah.
But in terms of practicing in that as well, that's always a good thing. Just you practice, retention. And then again, the preparation, the foundation, and then even going in front, you've done all that practice and rehearsing, and that will give you a very good starting point with which to make your presentation.
I love that. Practice on a smaller scale, whether that's with your children or your wife.
Yeah.
For me, growing up, it was my mum.
Nice.
So, at church, growing up in church, you always get given assignments to talk. And, I'd always write my talk out, and then I'll practice with my mum. It would just be me and mum, literally one-on-one. Mum would actually sit, because I know that out of all the people I know, she cares enough about me to give me an honest opinion, but also listen to it from beginning to end without zoning out.
Yeah. Man,
and,
awesome.
Mothers want their children to succeed, so they're going to sit there, listen, and give you the best advice ever.
Yes.
So anyway, I feel like a lot of my confidence to speak and all of that has come from my mum. Even just like a couple of years ago, I spoke at Wellington at a conference there hosted by the Retirement Commission. And my mum was the go-to person.
Wow.
I was like, Mum. And I think I practiced 3 times with her.
Nice.
At different times. It's like, Mum, is this okay? Oh, son, Mum, is this okay now?
Yeah.
I was like, change that, And yeah, you're right about that.
Yeah.
I think not only do we need to find those people, but we need to make ourselves those people, make ourselves available to support others.
Come on.
To help them as well. Hey, quick break. If you're an employer or business owner who's passionate about investing in your people, Zeducation can help. We're a trusted training provider offering literacy and numeracy programs to build essential skills alongside leadership, communication, conflict management, and even tech training in Microsoft Excel and AI. We also provide financial education on budgeting, home ownership, and retirement, as well as personal well-being programs. Plus, we deliver cultural diversity training to help create more inclusive and high-performing workplaces. Not sure what your people need? That's okay. We can help with that too. We offer needs analysis to identify skill gaps and ensure all training aligns with your business goals, developing the right capabilities to drive real success. What makes us even more cooler? We're a proudly Pacifica and Māori-owned business, and we know how to truly engage and empower our people. So if you're ready to level up your team, get in touch with us today at www.zeducation.co.nz. Now, back to the episode.
So what about for you? What's your go-to in terms of nerves? Because again, we all get nervous, and how do you center yourself before giving a presentation or speaking?
I'm like you in terms of my perspective. I try not to look at it as like a presentation, like I'm here to just one way deliver, but more like a conversation. So it's like it's you and me, and I'm even though I'm talking, it's like it's a conversation.
Nice.
And the other thing is, obviously, it's cliche. It's all about service. Like if you go there thinking about like what can I get out of this? Will people like me? Like that's all selfish. Questions or focusing inward. But if I'm focusing outward, be like, how can I inspire people? How can they walk away with something meaningful? What's something I can leave with them that's going to inspire them? Or do better. Then how I feel and then how I deliver, how I prepare changes. Based on that. So honestly, I can't really say more to that other than it's just like go in with the mindset to give and to serve and to help.
But it's another good point that you bring up also. If you have that, I don't know, confidence or that, but for me, you may be talking, somebody may give you something, like you're the next speaker, but then all of a sudden the person before you or that, they give something and you think, oh my gosh, I want to use that. If you're there, if you don't mind, there's no harm in pivoting, do you know what I mean? Yeah. Or taking something from someone. So say, for example, if I'm facilitating and I'll put a question out to the audience, somebody will ask a question, then based on the answer that one of the panelists may give, then that in turn informs me, like, I'm really liking this. I'm really liking this sort of narrative or this pathway. Let's travel down here a bit and see where it goes and that. But again, that comes with experience. If you're able to, even after all your prep, and it's happened to me a number of times where, for example, I recently went back to 531 for one day, and we were broadcasting live from ASB Polyfest 50th anniversary. I did about maybe 10 hours worth of prep, and then on the day, I literally threw it all away, and we ended up just, bringing in people from the community, and it was way better. Yes, I put all that time into the prep, but in terms of what our community and the people that came through were giving was just gold, was just gold. And so I suppose a tip there is like, yes, in terms of communication, you've done all that preparation, but man, if somebody gives you something that you think, this is better, and you're confident in the skills of being able to pivot down that path, go for it, Why not?
I love that. I love that. Don't be afraid to be flexible.
Yeah.
But I think all that preparation, 10 hours, wasn't a waste.
Yeah.
I feel like, there was still some value in it, and it gave you confidence, be like, I've got a backup just in case I do change. I can always come back to this,
That's
so
good.
that preparation is there, right?
Yep.
It does give you confidence, if anything else, if you don't use it. So even though, you've done all this preparation, you've got to give a speech, you got to make it engaging, right? It can't be boring.
Yeah.
People can't fall asleep. Otherwise,
Yes.
it's like,
Yes.
what are some tips
Okay.
to, I guess, when you're delivering your speech or communicating as a leader, how do you hold people's attention? How do you make it engaging?
Wow, that's a really good question. I don't. Okay, from my experience over the years, a few things. Say, for example, body posture is always very important. So, for example, if you're somebody that naturally slouches, if you're standing on a stage, I should have been doing it from the beginning of this. Rolling your shoulders back. So when you, there's this thing that they're selling on TV at the moment where it's like a bra or some sort of harness or corset type of thing where when you put it in, it straightens your back. But what you can do naturally is actually rolling your shoulders back and then drop. And then you'll notice, oh, wow, my posture is straighter and things like that. Another great way is to, when you're engaging with the audience, maybe you can capture somebody's eye line and actually speak to that person themselves. I do it all the time, actually. Maybe, they're speaking with one person on one point, going to another person. Okay? If you are somebody that is deathly fearful of eye contact, what you can do is actually looking at people's foreheads or above just their heads. So if I'm scanning the room and I'm just looking at people's above the heads and that, to them, it's like, they're looking at me. But no, I'm just looking at the top of your head.
Oh, nice gel. Oh.
Yeah. So that's another way. If you don't like making direct eye contact, then it's just like looking above and things like that. Even in terms of tone, if I talk like this for the whole time that we've been talking, then how does somebody watching this thing? But if you're tone, up, down, sort of modulation again. These are things that you can practice. And again, there are a number of resources free online, speech classes, enunciation, all these things. And it's funny because a lot of this stuff I learned when I was at drama school, of all things. So I went to drama school at Unitec School of Performing and Screen Arts. And so a lot of this stuff was even though I had the natural ability, it actually helped me to take my not only my performance, but also in the way that I communicated to people to another level. So those are just some things. And one thing, bro, that will really help? Smile. A lot of times people just, you've seen this a number of times. People are so focused because they're really thinking, they forget even the way that their face comes across. Like, oh yeah, so this is the, it's like you're so focused, but it's like, just a smile. Just a smile can disarm, can break the ice, it can really engage someone,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Where do you come up with your cool jokes? We're gonna put the video on this podcast so you guys can actually watch it. But this is a video that's actually circulating on social media. I saw it last night while I was doom scrolling. And this is Brian emceeing at a wedding, and he's pretty much how it all starts is he's staring at the wall, looking up, and it looks like you're in a boxing
Yeah.
announcement, and he's introducing himself.
Yes.
And he's like, making this huge announcement from Poreroa,
Yes.
MC, who said a school C, third attempt,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. But the way he delivered it was so funny. It got the crowd so energized and loud and powered up before the wedding even started.
Yes.
The reception or whatever it was,
Yes.
And so how do you come up with those funny ideas, those cool ideas?
It's just naturally creative, and a lot of it again is just taken from my own life experiences. So that particular video that you're talking about, I had the honour of emceeing Des and Nay Moi their wedding back in 2023 at the Dewdrop Event Centre. Man, it was huge. I think it was one of the biggest weddings I've ever emceed. They had 500 plus guests in that. So that was like, oh my gosh, but it was amazing. And such a beautiful couple and beautiful family, as with every family I'm privileged to serve. But in particular, in terms of that introduction, that's something that I've been doing, over 20-something years now, a variation, iteration of what you've seen. But like I said on the post, it's a way that I centre myself. When you're talking about how do you centre yourself? So that's one way that I actually do it, is like, people are like, but to me, it's like, okay, I'm getting into the mindset now. Okay, I'm in MC mode, sort of thing, and so the introduction, where I'm going. I'm a very proud Poreroian. I'm born and raised in Poreroa, and so for me, not only centering, but also highlighting, hey, this is who I am. What's about to happen is that this is who I am, and this is who I represent, and now I'm gonna, this is where I'm sort of serving from. This is the place where I'm serving from, because Poreroa, I left when I was only about 18, 19, but most of what you see me doing in whatever platform or medium, the majority was formed in my childhood growing up in Poreroa, so I'm always incorporating a lot of that. But again, it's just to have fun as well, So a lot of the comments in terms of the video when I was scrolling through is just saying like the energy and that. And so I feel it's a good way to set the tone for the evening. A lot of, there was some comment like, introducing yourself and da-da-da-da. But what people don't realise, this is after I've introduced the couple and the bridal party. So it's not me introducing myself right from the beginning, but this is after the bridal party, and that I never do it before. It's just a little add-on as a little icebreaker, and again setting the tone for the evening and that.
Yeah.
But it's just again being yourself, It's like, man, be yourself. So somebody commented, give me your energy in there, and I was like, no. You got your own energy, and that's good. Trust me, you got it. It's already in you. You know what I mean? So yeah.
I love that. What are some common mistakes people make when it comes to public speaking and preparing for speech? Whether it's like overthinking it or lack of preparation, what do you see as some of the common mistakes people make?
You just hit it. Those are the two main ones. Under preparation. It'll just, as soon as you start, if you are unprepared, people will just pick it up in an instant. And when people pick it up that, okay, so I've just paid to come along to this event, and the person that's leading this hasn't even bothered to do their homework, so they'll be there present in the present physically, but they've already switched off. So being underprepared, and then again, overthinking it. It's being malleable, being fluid, being flexible again. You've done the work, now just enjoy it. That's the thing too. After all the preparation is done and that, it's a matter of just enjoy, have fun, know that you've done the work and that you can just feel, you know, it's not that you're not allowed to have fun. Bro, when I'm gigging and that, I love it because I feed off and that's another thing, you just feed off the energy that the audience gives you. Content during an event can come from anywhere. It's just being flexible, but just allow yourself to enjoy. And here's the other thing also, you got to be in the moment. You have to be in the moment. What does that mean? Well, one of my drama teachers at Unitech back in the day, I loved this comment. Imagine the stage and there's the spotlight, and he goes, when you're in the light, be in the light. And the other way I explain is like when I first started at 531, my first program director after Ulale Mamai, lovely lady by the name of Nadia Marsh, is like, when you step through that door, the studio door, whatever's happening out here, leave it. You just focus on being there and being present on that microphone so that you can be present with your audience. So that's what I mean. Like when it's time to go, then you focus, you zone in 1,000,000% on being there, being present, and doing the job.
Wow. You dropped some value bombs here already, man. If our audience isn't fired up and learning anything, oh my goodness. So tell us about communication in terms of, we talked about from a mass and public point of view. You know, if we narrow it down to like networking.
Okay.
Right?
Nice.
How important is communication with, you know, one-on-one or when you're trying to network, especially as a business owner?
Yeah.
Or salesperson?
Yeah. It's again focusing on the other person. If you're going in with the mindset of, okay, what can I get? Again, it's like a radar. It's coming out. Okay, this person doesn't really...
people can tell.
People can tell straight away. But if it's more about you go in with the goal or the mindset or the focus of really learning, building a relationship where there's no hidden agendas, and going in with the wanting to learn. Because like if you're going to a business breakfast and that's amazing. There's so many different skill sets within any given setting. So what I would recommend, go in with the intention of learning. What can I learn from this person, whether it's a CEO or whatever, that I can then, you know, take to be able to apply to my own business?
What would it sound like? Like what's an example of maybe questions or things you could say instead of saying, hey, what do you do?
Yeah.
Or like,
because that was going to be my question.
Or you know, because this podcast is about, you know, helping people progress in their career and also leadership. You know, part of that is like you said, networking internally with the CEO and leaders, getting to know people, rather than just sitting there and hoping that people would notice you and then give you a job promotion.
Okay.
But part of it is connecting, networking, right? Building relationships with other people.
So maybe even after small talk, introducing yourself and what's your role in that, it can be something as simple as, why this particular industry for you? Something, you just keep it nice and simple. And then from there, it's like, because this is the other thing about communication that we haven't touched on, but which is just so integral in terms of communication, active listening also.
Yeah, I want to touch on that.
Active listening, the ability to be able to really focus on the person, listen, what are they giving? Oh, man, okay, then, wow, that's just opened up a whole nother, another kettle of fish in terms of where we can go in that. So in terms of networking, go in with that mindset, oh, wow, this person, what is their story? Tell me more about yourself. Why this industry? How did you get into it? What are the sort of skill sets that you have learned over the years? Where do you see this particular industry headed in the next 5 years? Always be curious. Go in wanting to learn, but also being curious about, man, what's your life story? Or especially if it's somebody that you really admire, or you think, okay, this is a CEO of a company in this particular industry. This is where I want to be, but I'm just on the ground floor. tell me what's the process that you went through to get where you are. Tell me about the wins. Tell me about the challenges. How did you overcome those challenges? You see? And then just even in those questions, it's just learning. You're giving to that person and you're actually getting more out of it. Do you know what I mean? You're giving everything to focus and pulling out the nuggets from that person, and you're doing it with a genuine intention of wanting to learn, but the returns, the ROI for you in terms of knowledge, what does that translate into down the line? How much from the gold that you've been given can actually shorten the length of time to get from where you are ground level to further up the ladder based on what you've just been given.
I love that. I want to dive into that a little bit more because
Yeah.
you are right. You know, when people think of communication, some of them just think of speaking or public
Yeah.
speaking, right? But the other side of it, just as important, equally powerful, is
Sure.
listening.
Yeah.
And you yourself, you've probably had a lot of interviews in your years, interviewing a lot of people on the show, and part of it would have been listening and asking the right questions. Tell us about, what does good listening look like? And I guess like the impact it has on people that you're talking to.
Nice. So in the context as a broadcaster, when I was broadcasting, again, somebody will be in the studio. I've done my prep, and I've got all the questions. I usually maybe have about 2-3 questions, but as soon as that person, maybe even in the answer that they give, and this is the benefit when you're really listening, they'll say something in their answer to the first question where you're just like, okay, I'm going to throw this away. I want to learn more about this. And then that's where the real gold and where the real talanoa. And it's the adrenaline rush because it's live radio. For me, all the interviews that I did were live, posting up on Facebook and that, but I love it. And the thing, again, is even as a broadcaster, I made so many mistakes in terms of questions, bambling and stuff like that. But because my why was always for the person to share their story, you'll see a lot of the comments that come up never mentions me. And that means I've done my job. What it means is that people are really engaged with the person that's giving their story. And I believe that comes a lot out of, okay, I've engaged listening, my ears, but more importantly, there's something that they are now feeding me, which now informs my next question. But that does come again with experience. And confidence. It's like you don't second guess yourself. If a question comes, you've got literally milliseconds after they've given their answer. Are you going to ask the question or not? If you're not, don't. But don't be in the middle space. If you're going to ask it, ask it. If not, then just go back to the next question. You know what I mean? And that again just comes from being confident within oneself.
Yeah. Wow, that's powerful. Look, you've been so generous with a lot of your experience and some tips and insights for us. As we draw towards the end of the podcast, I do have a few more questions.
Sure.
Before we finish. Our audience loves case studies and examples. Now, you don't have to mention names and numbers, but do you have an example in your career, or even a recent one, where because someone or yourself is invested in communication, it has led to success or future success for you, whatever that would look like?
I can only talk from my experience, and if we look at my primary role now as MC facilitator and what I do in terms of work, I like to, again, in terms of the word and that, from glory to glory, or if you're faithful in the little things, then that will open doors to bigger things. When I first started emceeing about 30 or so years ago, the way that it actually happened was a real happy accident. I went along to support a mate. MC didn't turn up. Literally, they didn't turn up to the gig, and my mate calls me to the front, ready to start the gig, and he goes, "Brian, the MC didn't turn up. I know you got a big mouth. Can you do it?" And I was like, "What?" And he goes, "Bro, come on." And I went, "Oh, shame it." And I went, "Okay then." I caught the bug right there. I caught the bug. I didn't get paid for that. But slowly over the years, as I've been doing this, it's been such a blessing. And in terms of opportunities, I've been able to travel overseas and that. And even in terms of communication, okay, Okay, I only share this for people watching. I used to work for DHL Express. Yes, logistics company. And 1 year, I think it was 2010, 2011, I was country salesperson of the year for New Zealand for DHL Express, which then allowed me the opportunity to go to our global sales conference, which was held at Phuket in Thailand. So over the course of that week that we went there, man, we stayed in a 6-star Sheraton every night, 6-star hotels, went on went on an elephant safari, went to Muay Thai boxing thing. That all came from communication. But then when you combine communication and hard work, so what happened is over the course of that year, when I first became a telesales agent, the day that I joined, there was about a cutting down of our department because people had either been let go or resigned. And so what happened is, when I first started in telesales, I went from this, say like a client base of maybe, I don't know, 20 or something, and I had a client base of 200, which stretched across the whole of the North Island, which I had to look after for a few months until we brought on a new telesales person. So in terms of communication, yes, but when you combine it with hard work and that, it can open up doors. Do you know what I mean? But it's just being real faithful in the little things. And then, of course, modelling after our parents. We see what they do when they come to New Zealand and how they work hard and how they create a future and a life and build that foundation for successive generations. That when we model after that as well. So yeah, communication and natural gifting and that, but on top of that, you got to add that hard work. If you're consistent, you add the hard work. If you're integral, if you have that spirit of excellence, you apply all these things consistently. I started at a level where, it was the majority of doing gigs. I'll tell you what, there was 1 year I did a function, maybe it was 2-3 days, full 3 days, and the pay for that was maybe about $100. Yeah. Maybe about $100 or so. And that was how many years ago? But I was still faithful. There have been times where I've been engaged by a client and then halfway through, they've changed the figure on me. Where it's like, okay, this is the agreed upon amount, but now halfway through it's like, oh, sorry, we can only pay you this. Right there, I have the choice to walk away and say, no, stuff this, because this isn't what we agreed upon. But again, for me, I believe I'm a man of integrity. Okay, you've changed the optics on me, but I'm going to see it through to the end. Wow. I won't tell you that I'll never work with you again, but I'll still be faithful on this end. Wow. And so it's all those ones, you know, through the ups and the downs, the valleys and the mountaintops, where if you're consistent in your core foundational values that eventually those doors will open, opportunities will open where, you know, I can charge X amount now, confident. It's not so much that, you know, look at me, but it's a confidence which is based on experience and based on consistency and based on consistency of performance. And when you can, you know, combine those sort of qualities, those attributes, those characteristics in how you operate, because at the end of the day, also ultimately, we can only control the choices and the decisions that we make. But if we have our set values, if we have that set waterline or that, where it's like, okay, this is who I am, regardless of however this pans out, I'm still going to be consistent, be faithful, knowing that eventually doors will open. And so I was given a promise a number of years ago, a scripture, Galatians 6 verse 9, and let us not be weary in well doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not. That was like nearly 30 years ago, but it's only now that I'm actually starting to see the fruit of that come to pass, come to bear. And it's like, okay, man, that's awesome. It didn't happen in the time frame of which I wanted it to, but man, you know, again, God has opened up so many doors. I'm just so blessed. I'm so blessed to be where I am at the moment. But if I can finish, you know, in what I'm doing now, and especially for all our parents and grandparents, it's always next generation minded. It's always about sowing into the next generation. So what I'm doing now, I hope that, you know, for my children, especially my grandchildren, if it's one thing for us as parents to say to our kids, come on, go out and take the world by storm. You've got a great purpose, da-da-da. But if you're just sitting at home all the time and just not doing anything yourself, it's like, do as I say, but not as I do, sort of thing. So if you're going to encourage your kids, model it yourself, Be that person that you want them to aspire to, instead of having to go out into the interweb and look at all these celebrities and that, when the greatest inspiration should always be right there at home, whether it's mum or dad, nanny, papa, multi-generations for us as Pasifika that are living under one roof. There's inspiration right there within your own little village.
Beautiful. Wow, what a powerful way to end this podcast, And that says a lot about you as a person and as your character, with your integrity. Even if someone changes on you or something happens last minute, you're going to stick to it. You're going to stay true, because that's just who you are. Right? When you say you're going to do something, you do it, but you do it with all intent and 100%. I love that about you. And also, the other thing that I've learned, coming back to our audience, how can we apply this to our career and leadership? We talked about hard work and communication going hand in hand will get you further in life and in your career. Ooh. So yes, a lot of us work hard.
Yeah.
But if we know how to communicate, because communication is all about connecting with people. Yeah. It's all about relationship building, that's going to help you in your career.
I was just going to say, because you were touching on leadership, and I think it was one of the questions that you sent through in terms of, leaders and stuff like that. The greatest ability or gifting from what I've seen over the years and great CEOs that I've worked alongside is the ability for man management. So what is the overarching vision? And then amongst the collective group that you have within you, what are the different skill sets and how you communicate? One may be you can kick them up the backside and talk rough in that, whereas somebody else might need the cotton wool approach and stuff like that. So how, in terms of how you communicate as a leader individually based on their communication style, are you able to bring and unite under the umbrella of a vision for an organization moving forward? So yeah.
I love that. We definitely had to plug that one in there. Before we end the podcast, what is your big takeaway for our audience? What do you want to leave with us from this conversation, if anything?
I think the biggest thing for me, for anyone that watches this, is don't be scared to go out and be who God created you to be. Whatever dreams, aspirations in your heart and that. And I always say this at a lot of gigs also, especially for our young people. Again, I'm very proud that I'm from Porirua, but like Porirua, like South Auckland, Manurewa, Mangere, Papakura, Flaxmere, Papa Nui, and all these places which are considered lower socioeconomic. It's like, please don't ever live down to the stereotypes which have been placed on you, either by media, by your environment, by your circumstances and stuff like that. Go out and be the very best version of yourself and who you were created to be. I share this example many, many times over, and I never get sick of it. A lovely lady by the name of Matamua Loretta Washington, who I interviewed a number of years ago, born and raised in Otara. Her father was a minister. When I spoke to her in 2019, I think it was, she was the highest ranking Polynesian officer in the US Armed Forces. She, at the time, her rank was that of Chief Master Sergeant. She was the head of a naval base, I think, in Arizona, which served a community of about 50,000 people. That's one story also of how many thousands of stories of inspirational people, if we're talking in the context of Pasifika, but just in terms of inspiration, that have gone out and just, really fulfilled what they were created to do, sort of thing, So that's just one example. And that's why being at 531 all the years, just how many amazing stories of our people, the achievements, and just inspiring the next generation.
I love that. Powerful way to end the podcast. Fulfill what God was created you to do.
Yeah.
Find out what that gift is, He created you to do, and go and fulfill it.
And then also go out and change the world.
Go out and change the world.
You do it.
Yes, because you can. I love it. And because Brian said you can. Amen. We got that. If people want to get in touch with your services, with
Sure.
emceeing or coaching around communication, how can they do that?
Well, primarily, you can go to my website, Brian Sagala Event Specialist, or just Google me, Brian Sagala Event Specialist, or you can DM me on, because now I have an Instagram, Brian Sagala, as well as TikTok, Brian Sagala, and Facebook, Brian Sagala, or you can email me at mbsangala@gmail.com. And thank you so much also for the opportunity to come and to share. It's been real blessing today. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
No, you're very welcome also. And again, thank you for your time, for your insights. We're just much better for it. There we go. Brian Sagala, founder of Brian Sagala Event Specialist. And that's a wrap for today's episode. If this conversation gave you something valuable, do me a favor. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you haven't already, hit the follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode. This show is all about helping you unleash your greatness, and the more we grow, the more we can bring you content that truly makes an impact. Thanks for being part of the Zeducation Podcast. Let's keep pushing forward, and I'll see you next time.